Recently, even Florida Governor Ron DeSantis called California one of the most beautiful places on earth, which was kind of weird, but also really a show of how much people like it here. Southern California especially is also increasingly popular due to events like Coachella, 420, and even Earth Day, when both Metro and Metrolink are free, by the way. But did you know that it was in California's spring of 1850 when the state essentially signed off on what amounted to a death sentence for the indigenous population here? I think whether you've lived in California your whole life or if you just got here, you should know more about this. In 1850, California wouldn't even become the 31st state until September 9th, after the Treaty of Cahuenga during the Mexican-American War. But as early as December 1849, a group of self-appointed delegates, especially excited by the gold rush, started meeting and drafting laws for the future Golden State. Their main issue was how to engage the local indigenous population, which at that time numbered between 100 to 150,000 people across the state. By April 1850, the group of delegates came to a consensus, and in the words of UCLA professor and author Benjamin Madley, on April 21, Governor Burnett signed the infamous, ironically titled, Act for the Government and Protection of the Indians. Specifically, the act made it so that, quote, in no case could a white man be convicted of any offense upon the testimony of Indians, unquote, and even went as far as to legalize the indentured servitude of Native Californians, as well as the abduction and even the sale of their children. Due to this legal standing, or really lack thereof, in the ensuing years, whole tribes through California would be slaughtered in whole. And in the words of Benjamin Madley once again, between 1846 and 1873, California's Indian population plunged from perhaps 150,000 to 30,000. You should also note that the state of California actually paid for these attacks against the Aboriginal people here, going as far as to print bonds with George Washington's face on them and approving up to $1.2 million in expeditions against the natives between 1850 through 1859 alone. And while the California legislature would actually go on to repeal part of the act in 1865 following the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, it wouldn't repeal the 1850 Act in full until 1937. It wouldn't even be until 2019 that the state of California issued its first and only apology to California's indigenous people for the 1850 Act and other harms against indigenous people here. But the state of California still has a much longer way to go before it's truly come to terms with this history. So in that vein, share these facts and figures with someone else who might need to hear them. And, at least from this Californian to you, Happy Earth Day.